Gosh, what would it be like to talk to animals? Imagine the new perspectives we could gain from them, the amazing concepts we could educate them on, the partnerships we could form, the fun we could have. Chances are you're imagining something quite unlike the 1967 film Dr. Dolittle, an almost criminally dreadful piece of celluloid that often gets singled out as being culpable in the death of the old studio system. Plagued by production issues, horrible casting, and one of the worst scores in the history of cinema, it truly has to be seen to be believed. Except, no, maybe don't see it. Just take our word for it.
Welcome to Kale Your Idols, a new Hollywood podcast with your hosts, Sam Ludwig and Elena Gibson.
How are you doing, Elena?
I am good. How are you doing, Sam?
I'm doing good. Is this the first time we've addressed each other?
Maybe,
on
yeah.
the podcast?
Right, my name's Elena.
My name is Sam. Yeah.
Yes. Nice to meet you.
Good to meet you. And also nice to meet all of you.
Wishful thinking that people are listening to this podcast.
All right, let's get out of this attitude.
Okay.
We're starting. We've got to have
All
a positive chipper attitude that's befitting the source material and the attitude of the film that we are discussing this week.
Which is Dr. Dolittle. This is part 2 of Old Hollywood. We're discussing Dr. Dolittle, made in 1967.
Yeah. Sort of the tail end of this trend of musicals being done by the studios in the 60s. Both adaptations of popular four-quadrant source material, children's books such as Mary Poppins that we talked about last week, but also stage musicals. And, that certainly intersects with, for example, the star of Dr. Dolittle and perhaps the most notable figure associated with it, which is Rex Harrison, and who at this point in his career was coming off of an Academy Award for the film version of My Fair Lady.
And as you mentioned, there were a bunch of musicals being made at this time. Specifically, 20th Century Fox, the production company, was trying to duplicate the success of Sound of Music, which was a huge hit. So they lined up 3 expensive, large-scale musicals to make over 3 years. The first one was Dr. Dolittle, followed by Star, ! And Hello Dolly. And all 3 were huge failures.
They nearly bankrupted the studio.
People often associate these as crashing the studio system, along with a number of other factors that we'll talk about at some point.
I've never seen Star. I have seen Hello Dolly, though, and this movie.
Yeah, I've never seen Star. I've never seen the movie Hello Dolly, but I was in a production of Hello Dolly in high school.
You were?
Yeah, I didn't actually watch the musical at all because I was just a dancer or something.
You didn't watch the video of your school doing it?
Oh, why would I? We sucked. It was bad.
Oh.
I don't even know if we had videos of it, to be honest.
Really? You were that bad that people were like, don't take a film of my children in this play?
Oh, no. Parents hated going to see the musicals because they had to sit through it.
God, that ridiculous podunk town you're from.
Yeah, I mean, you have probably one of the best musical theater high schools in the country, I'm guessing.
Well, that's not a theater school. I don't know. I went to a pretty good school district.
Like, it wasn't a private, but one of the best, public.
Yeah. One of the best schools. It's from a good school system.
Yeah.
Shall we say. It's a weird brag.
It's a weird brag.
Like, I'm in a pretty good school system. It's public school. I didn't graduate college, so I don't want to brag about my erudition.
No, the point about parents having to sit through the musical, I think watching this movie, Dr. Dolittle, made me come to the realization that sitting through a bad musical is so much more annoying and unpleasant than sitting through a bad movie.
Anything else, really. No, you've really hit on this. Musicals work or they don't. And there's such a fine line, and it's hard to say. There's sort of an X factor and stuff. And obviously this is not a universal rule. Like, some people will hate something that other people would say that show works or whatever, but like, it really is a binary thing of just either it it makes it or it doesn't, and there's no kind of like version of, well, that was okay. There's no version of like, oh, it's so bad it's good musicals, or that was like an interesting effort and you should probably check it out. It's like, no, that's an interesting effort and nobody except for extreme dorks would ever want to check it out.
Yeah, so given that, does this musical work or not work?
Dorks would not even like this. This episode's going to be a bit of a slog. I don't know. We're going to have to figure out ways of making ourselves... I'm going to have to figure out a way of making my brain spin straw from the shit that this movie puts in your brain.
I'm totally comfortable just shitting on this movie.
No, I'm comfortable shitting on this movie. It's just the thoughts that I have about it doesn't spark joy. So
it's true. I wrote notes while we were watching, and then I typed them up on my computer ahead of time so that when we're recording this, I can refer back if I want. And the amount of times I use the word suck.
Yeah, same, right? I'm just like writing notes just like, this is shit, with a bunch of T's.
Yeah, and like it's not like I had anything insightful to say in any of those cases. It was just, this character sucks, this song sucks.
The songs go on, and they keep hitting you over the head. There's some songs that are so bad, and they're so long and intricate that they like keep finding new ways of sucking. They start off sucking in a certain way, and then they develop the suckiness.
The thing about the songs that I just hate is they're all lists. That's all they are.
Yeah.
So I started making a list while we were watching the movie of all the things that were listed in these songs. So the things that these songs listed were vegetarian foods, animals that you could talk to, all the different bad ways that humans treat animals, similes between humans and animals, things that Dolittle sees in a seal's eye, weird things that the circus guy has seen, things that men can do, beautiful things, the thing Emma is waiting for, things that Dolittle likes about Emma, crazy things that happen in the world of Dolittle, and it's just insane. Every time I was like, when there was a new song, I hoped maybe this one will be an actual song, and it seemed like maybe it was going towards that, and then it just started listing stuff again.
No, yeah, the score was abysmal, and there's so much of it, like you just hit on, like, that was so many different lists. They just have no idea of what makes a good song in a musical.
The only song I liked was the one that Newley sings after Today.
Right.
That was the only good one.
He has several songs, and he's not even great in most of them.
Yeah. Do you want to talk a bit about who
Anthony
that guy is?
Newley?
Yeah, I didn't know who this person was, but Sam loved him.
Yeah, no, this is an idol of mine. I used to want to do a review of Anthony Newley and Leslie Bercuse's work, the principal songwriter of Dr. Dolittle, which we'll get into in a second. But I wanted to do a review called Newley Done Nightly.
It's good.
It's not bad, right? But so Anthony Newley, this is my kind of musical theater icon. He's sort of in a more likable version of Mandy Patinkin.
Who most people know from The Princess Bride.
Yes.
But is an amazing musical theater person.
Yeah, he's a legendary musical theater performer, and he's extremely idiosyncratic and very much just always in his own world, and kind of, which you can sort of do in musical theater, which is such an expressionistic medium where you get to just kind of like show off and act wacky with your voice, and Mandy Patinkin and Anthony Newley both just have these very imitable characteristics and tics that they sort of always hit that are very satisfying. And Anthony Newley's got like this beautiful voice that's so unusual, because he sort of like hits his Britishness in a certain way. He and Leslie Bercuse, his songwriting partner, they sort of really hit on the scene with their show Stop the World, I Want to Get Off, which, do you know anything about that show?
No, I don't. Tell me about it.
Oh, I will tell you about this show. This is like a show that I would love to do because it's super cheap and super easy and super weird, and you could do it, but nobody would like it. It's so out of touch. It touches on, American and British, Russian, German political relationships in the early 1960s, as well as sort of like lower class British sexism. It's basically about this guy who is named Little Chap, who's a sort of metaphorical person who's a mime. And he's just sort of like miming stuff, and then he just starts talking in this Cockney accent and singing. And so he's a mime that talks. And he's got a wife and several mistresses that are all from different countries. They're all played by the same actress.
Oh, that's interesting.
And some kids. And it's just really weird. It's just sort of like let me tell you about life. And, he just sort of like goes through the cycle and learns what's really important. He's a sexist asshole and stuff, as was sort of an interesting topic for songwriting teams at the time in musical theater. But so that's just like a really wild showcase for him as a strange performer to kind of go off and made him an icon. And they, him and Brecuse went on to co-write Roar the Grease Paint, Smell the Crowd, and the Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory soundtrack. So they wrote songs such as Feeling Good, and I'm feeling good,
So what went wrong with this movie? How come they weren't a great team?
Because Newley didn't write the music. Didn't help. He was just acting in it.
Yeah.
They just got Brecuse. As far as I could tell, that's an open and shut case for Newley being an extremely integral part of the songwriting team.
And Newley wasn't even in the movie as much as he should have been. From what I read, Rex Harrison did not like working with Newley.
And Newley didn't like working with Rex Harrison because he made anti-Semitic comments at him.
Yeah, okay. Rex Harrison seems like such a terrible
piece
person.
of shit.
Yeah.
More or less.
Anti-Semitic and
racist.
Then apparently, racist. Like they're...
Had a racist entourage?
Right. And that's what I kept reading is his racist entourage kept making awful comments to Jeffrey Holder, who played William Shakespeare X. And he just like had his entourage around just to like be racist?
I don't handle my own racism. I have a guy for that.
It was, okay, and then I read this crazy story.
This was a clusterfuck of a production.
Yes.
Largely centered around Rex Harrison and personality difficulties.
He caused so many issues. I just want to tell this one thing, that there was this woman named Carol Landis who was a pinup icon and small-time actress, and she killed herself because of Rex Harrison. She was involved in a relationship with him, but he was married at the time, and he wouldn't leave his wife for Carol Landis, so she committed suicide. So the night before she died, they had dinner together, and he apparently left her place, and the next morning came over to her place, so he says, and found her body dead. Then there's all these weird facts about how he hung out at the scene for hours before calling the police, and I came across this website that's made by Carol Landis' family, and it's so sad because it's just this blog of how they're just convinced that Rex killed her, and they just go through all these details. And I mean, a lot of the details are like, oh, she wouldn't have killed herself because she was so happy at the time, but she also had multiple suicide attempts before this. So it's like, I'm not saying that I think Rex killed her, but he may have.
He was clearly a terrible person.
Yes.
And that sort of doesn't feel that bad to speculate about whether or not he killed a person who he at the very least caused their suicide. Not a fun person, Rex Harrison.
No.
Plays a lot of characters that are also not fun people.
Yeah, I mean, he's not an outright asshole in Dr. Dolittle the way he is in My Fair Lady.
It's the same thing, though. He's not as funny as Dolittle as Henry Higgins either. There's a Dolittle in My Fair Lady as well as Dr. Dolittle, so it makes it confusing. But no, he's not mean and funny the way that Henry Higgins is, but he is totally the same, like, I hate women and I hate people. He's a misanthrope.
Yeah, that's true. He is open about hating people. I don't know if he'd go so far to say that he hates women, but he certainly doesn't treat them right. He treats Emma like such shit, like such garbage. And then suddenly at the end, he's like, oh, I think I love you. It's like, fuck you, man. Yeah. But yeah, there's the part where there's a shipwreck.
Yeah.
And he's just casually just hanging out on his driftwood, shaving himself without a care in the world, without seeming to care whether or not the rest of his crew survived. And they float by him and he's like, oh, good, you made it. And then Emma goes missing for a while, and it takes them such a long time to be like, oh, I hope she's okay. He doesn't seem to care at all.
No, he's a jerk. Is there something about, what do you think this is about Dolittle's misanthropy and the sort of the general metaphor of his communion with animals? Does he, like, live more in the moment? Is he having a sort of, like, truer experience with reality as opposed to, like, people who are fretting about in their pointless concerns and he knows everything will turn out all right?
He certainly, when they're looking for the giant pink snail thing, and he has no plan at all, and he's like, it's okay, we'll find it.
Right.
And so he just seems to think everything's just gonna work out, and maybe it's like based on the idea that he was like, maybe I can teach myself to talk to animals, and then he succeeded. And so maybe having that weird success for such a thing that nobody else has ever achieved. Yeah, like maybe he was just like, oh, I'll be successful at everything from now on. And he is in the movie.
Yeah, he pretty much gets to do whatever he wants.
Yeah, maybe it's like that secret thing, you know, that book and movie.
It.
Like, yeah, like
no,
he
does.
just like puts the positive energy out there and it just happens.
Well, what do you think about Dr. Dolittle as a character?
I think in this movie, super boring.
Well, but that's the thing. We watched several Dr. Dolittles.
Yes.
For this.
Yes. We watched the Eddie Murphy one, made in 1998, and we also watched the recent Robert Downey Jr. one, made in 2020.
I read some of the Dr. Dolittle material when I was a kid and have a vague memory of it. But so none of the versions of Dr. Dolittle in the movies are quite right, in my opinion. They each have their positives and negatives, but you still get the idea of Dr. Dolittle.
It seems kind of similar to Mary Poppins, where it's like always getting into scrapes and kind of magical, although I guess not magical.
Right.
But there's a giant pink snail, so there must be some sort of magic.
Right, but I guess that's also just like tapping into the majesty of of science.
There's a floating island that has a volcano on it. How could you possibly have a floating island with a volcano? The lava has to come from the center of the earth. Like, that's not science.
Well, it's not good science. I miss this in speculative fiction. We've talked about this all the time. I miss the days of when people just didn't know anything about the world, so they could just like make up wild shit about just like, and we ran this rocket on cheese because the biocarbonates actually work in the ether, play against the...
I bet you could find a way to make rockets run on cheese.
Well, yeah, you're probably right. Wouldn't that be cool if you could just like write a book that had a Méliès level understanding of the universe? If you could invest somebody in that with people's current understanding of science.
I imagine it was more fun to imagine back then because who the fuck knew?
Science fiction is too realistic now. It's like Black Mirror and stuff. Anyways, that's my hot take.
I think that's a fine hot take.
Okay. There's a fancifulness to Dr. Dolittle, though, that is charming. Like, the idea of talking to animals, what does that evoke? It seems like he's just out in it for fun. He just wants the yucks and adventures. He doesn't want responsibilities. He likes helping animals.
This is what I didn't like about... There are lots of things I didn't like. But I didn't like this movie, how he talks to animals... And then they introduce halfway through that he, like, gets into adventures. And I know they kind of mentioned, oh, he just got back from, like, rescuing a crocodile or whatever.
A lot of ramp up in the movie, too.
Yeah, but it seems like it wasn't really the same... I happen to also have a ship where I sail around the world. It just seemed disconnected. I think the plot was so bonkers. There were so many different things going on. First, it was a very long flashback about how he learned how to talk to animals. And
Which
also
you
a boring
want, but it
flashback.
sucked. But that's what you want. You want the origins. I remember this moment from the books of, like, him first learning how to talk to animals. It's so touching. Yeah. The idea of first talking to this parrot, unlocking this world, and how much fun he could have, you know?
Yeah, and it really just fell so flat in the movie. The parrot said, oh, you can talk to animals if you try. And he's like, well, let me try. And then he did.
Yeah.
It was so awful. It was such a letdown.
A quick study, I suppose.
So there was that. And then suddenly there was a giant pink snail thing that they were talking about. That's his goal, which is a really stupid goal.
The worst prop, like the worst major prop in a movie I've ever seen. The snail looked like a piece of Soviet playground equipment.
Yeah, that prop was an 8-ton machine that cost over $65,000. And those scenes with it were shot in St. Lucia, in an island of St. Lucia. The locals got really angry, apparently.
I know.
About the snail because their kids had just suffered from a really bad bout of food poisoning caused by freshwater snails, so they pelted rocks at it.
Talk about bad luck.
Yeah, how could they have foreseen that?
Yeah.
That one was not their fault.
That's such a Larry David thing. Like, you know, the locals like, how dare you put this snail in front of my children out there? They just had a terrible gastrointestinal thing. And, like, Belty's like, what? I'm sorry. I
do kind of wonder, you know, I've seen multiple websites now mentioning these stories. I feel like all of these stories came from one single source material. And I do wonder if maybe it was more like a couple of locals were like, boo, and they threw one rock.
That thing should have had rocks thrown at it.
It looked bad.
It was an abomination.
But it was kind of fun, though.
It's at the end of like a 2 and hour and 45-minute movie, and they've been talking about this big, great pink snail.
It wasn't even that big.
It was small. It wasn't pink.
Yeah, it was like I don't know, a
brown?
Yeah, it was not pink. You're right. It should have been a hot pink.
Barely recognizable as a snail.
I will say the inside of the shell.
The inside was sick.
That was cool. That was pink and it looked cool.
That looked like a fun place to hang out in.
Yeah. I also liked the whale. I mean, it looked silly, but it was so big.
Well, right. The whale, I wrote down in my notes, I was like, oh my god, the initial whale shot was so epic and amazing, and then it just looks terrible. 5 seconds later, it's like, what am I looking at? All of the effects are... There's a moment where it's like, oh, that animatronic fox looks like, hey,
oh,
god.
No. The
what
fox
what happened to that fox? You know,
the fox was horrific.
No, the seal.
The seal was a real seal.
Not in the moments when he's holding it and looking into its dead eyes and singing about the beauty of the seal's eyes.
And contemplating bestiality.
Contemplating bestiality outwardly.
I wrote down hinting at bestiality, and then there was a line that was like, oh, if only you were a man or I were a seal or whatever.
You weren't a seal.
And then I crossed out hinting at.
Yeah, right.
Okay, but so those are the animal robots, machines. Let's
real
talk about
animals.
the real animals.
Watching this movie instantly, I'm like, this would cause a pandemic. This looked, I watching it, I was like, this looks so unsanitary and dangerous. Mixing all of these animals together.
Oh,
Having them like hang out and stuff. No, I'm surprised they didn't kill, some of them didn't kill each other. I'm sure they were drugged up to their gills, but.
So some of the animals did die.
Of course.
The thing is, like,
there's so many animals.
This movie is about like being kind to animals, and
right.
in the process, they put so many animals into a terrible situation. I read about a couple of things that happened to the animals. I'm sorry, this is kind of a long list, but there was a lot of bad things that happened to these animals. There were 1,300 live animals used in this movie, approximately. And the upkeep was around $750 a week just to like take care of them. They trained
$750 a week total?
Yeah, apparently, which is kind of low. I wanted to know
60
like,
for 1,000 animals.
Yeah,
they didn't imagine the guy. He's like, listen, I got all 1,000 animals, $750 a week. I got it. I'll take care of it. The whale, the seal, the tiger, the giraffe, all of them.
No, so okay, but it wasn't all the animals at the same time. They trained hundreds of animals in California and didn't realize that they couldn't take those animals for their on-location shots. They would have had to quarantine the animals for a while before
entering the UK.
Yeah, because the livestock when you on a plane you're filling out that form about are you traveling with livestock. Yeah. It's a health problem. It
was must have been a regular Noah's Ark that they then got stopped at customs.
I don't think they actually were in the I don't think they tried to get all the animals on the boat before they found out. Move
that monkey back on that plane.
The budget originally was supposed to be $6 million, and it was triple that by the end of making this movie. And I think a lot of that had to do with the animal issues. Yeah, so
it looks like that, like because the movie looks like shit, but you see a fuck ton of animals.
That first I was like, wow, I love seeing these animals. Like that scene of him in his office and all those animals in there. I was like, this is cool.
You've never seen anything like it.
Yeah, it's true. Like you don't. And now after reading about what happened with animals, I understand why people don't do that because it's a nightmare and really expensive, and it's bad for the animals. But it did have charm. And when we watched the Robert Downey Jr. one, the CGI animals looked like crap.
They're too anthropomorphized.
Yeah. And also just like you can tell when something's real and not real. And a real animal is so much more engaging to watch than a CGI animal.
Babe is the perfect mix, in my opinion, of the real animals mixed with little fudging and stuff.
Comparing the Downey Dr. Dolittle versus the Eddie Murphy Dr. Dolittle, the animals in the Eddie Murphy one I much prefer. Because even though they did some like CGI to make their mouths move or some like, post-production manipulation, they still had real animals to begin with.
That one was paying the most attention to the having recognizable names in the animals' roles.
And the animals are so much funnier.
They had character. Yeah. They really got into the animals' characters, which the original, the 67 one that we're ostensibly mostly talking about today, has so many animals. And it touches on so many elements. The pink say snail, the push me pull you, the origin story.
Yeah, but the animals themselves, so the only one that talks in ways that we can understand is the parrot in the original one. So we don't get to know the personalities of the animals in the original movie.
No.
And yeah, I don't like any of the animals in the Downey Jr. one.
No.
But I do like the animals in the Eddie Murphy one.
Right,
Okay.
yeah.
Animal mishaps. So, a giraffe died on set. Also,
God, imagine.
it's terrible. Also, like, the giraffe that Rex Harrison was riding in that one scene, it stepped on its own penis. And then it had to stop production.
I do believe this giraffe has stepped on his own penis. Yes, give it down now.
And they had to pause production for 3 days because of this penis issue.
Wow.
Okay, so one of the fawns ate a bunch of paint and then had to have its stomach pumped. A piglet had to be replaced many times because it was growing so fast, which that's not bad for the piglet's safety, but it's just funny. Like,
Poor
damn
piglet, child actor.
Yeah. The squirrels kept eating through the scenery, which ended up costing thousands of dollars in repairs. In the scene where he's, like, singing in the field to the sheep,
Yeah.
they had to spray him down multiple times because there kept being flies everywhere, and one of the sheep urinated on him. Apparently, the animals bit and peed on and shat on Rex Harrison and the crew so much. One of the goats broke loose during a scene and ate the director's script.
Goat ate the script.
Classic excuse.
Yes.
That's why the movie sucks. It would have been a great movie if that goat hadn't eaten the script.
Yeah. It was the only shooting script.
Yeah. There was a scene where they wanted to put ducks in the water on a pond.
Right. I read about this. The ducks forgot how to swim.
No, I read it.
So they had to be rescued. That was so cute. It'd be so cute. They're like, those ducklings are drowning. We gotta get them, boy.
Yeah, that would be really cute to jump in the water to rescue ducks. One of the sources I read said, like, it's not that they forgot how to swim, it's just they filmed it during the wrong time of the year where the feathers no longer have water resistance.
Ah, I see.
And so that they just, like...
These poor ducks seem to have forgotten how to swim.
They wanted a squirrel to be next to Polynesia the parrot at one point, and so they tried to tie the squirrel's paws to the perch, and that didn't work. So then they wanted to get a vet to come and sedate it, but in the end they decided to just give it gin and get it drunk.
Right.
Which
The
is
squirrel
awful.
died. No, I don't know.
I don't think it died.
I shouldn't say something like that. I shouldn't disparage otherwise great animal handler.
No, it is terrible. Like, this is not good for these animals. In the California set, they built the whole set on a slant so that they could just drain the animal shit. And they would, like, hose everything down, and they had people on the side with brooms waiting to, like, sweep the shit out of the way each time it would happen.
They must, like, I mean, I guess it's a sunk cost thing at a certain point, but, like, they've invested so much. They must have just been so sure this was a winner.
They must have been. I mean, that's crazy how much money they invested in it. They had to have duplicates of everything on set.
Right.
Because
All the
animals would back into it and ruin it, so they had to have another one right there.
And they had to have duplicate animals, too. They had to have animal understudy.
Yeah, they had animal understudy.
And they used them a lot. Do you think Rex Harrison cared about animals?
Oh, I think he hates them.
Yeah, I guess so.
I feel like he probably hates everything.
Yeah, he does seem like he hates everything. Except real actors.
Oh, yeah.
He wanted nobody who was in the musical comedy realm to come in to the film because otherwise he thought it would die. They originally wanted Sammy Davis Jr. in the role of, what's the name again?
It was a different character they wanted him for, but it was going to be the chieftain of the island, and they ended up getting rid of that character and casting Geoffrey Holder as William Shakespeare X.
But it was this whole complicated thing. So Sammy Davis Jr., who also has a relationship with Bracuse and Newman, there's this great, it's on YouTube, you should check it out, Sammy Davis Jr. and Anthony Newley performing Newley Bracuse songs together. It's like a 70s special.
Oh, that sounds
and
cute.
It's so good. I've always loved Sammy Davis Jr. He was always my favorite Rat Packer. I always thought he was an amazing performer, great voice and stuff. And so, he was known as the Candyman because he had a big hit with the Candyman from Willy Wonka, and also What Kind of Fool Am I from Stop the World, I Want to Get Off. So he was doing all of that material, even though I think he also apparently said he didn't like it. But anyways, he was considered for this role. They offered it to him. And Rex Harrison was like, no, I don't want a song and dance man. I want a real actor in this role. And so he was like, we should get Sidney Poitier. So they offered it to Poitier. And they were going to break the news to Sammy Davis Jr., so they went to see Sammy Davis Jr. perform, and he knew they were out in the audience, and so he was really hamming it up and going for the gusto, and he threw in like a Rex Harrison ad-lib as a joke, and then they break the news to him and stuff afterwards, and Sidney Poitier had also gotten word that they were screwing over Sammy Davis Jr., and so he came to that meeting, like, in his dress. It was this crazy, awkward situation.
Oh, man.
But Sammy Davis Jr. did end up recording a number of tracks from this terrible score.
Yeah,
later on.
they apparently made 9 separate versions of the soundtrack.
Yeah.
And in several different languages, and they pressed over 1 million copies, but almost none of them sold.
It was a huge media blitz.
Yeah.
They won Best Song
They
at
did.
the Oscars.
They did win Best
And I think
Song.
people got some hits with If I Could Talk to the Animals, which is kind of a good song, I have to say.
Yeah, it's an okay song. Yeah, they had a bunch of different famous actors record that song in particular.
And singers.
Oh, that's what I meant, singers.
Yeah.
But yeah, I heard that Harrison...
But, like, why would you also not want a Song and Dance Man? I'm sorry. Like,
know.
why is this not appropriate for this
Well,
material?
people, from what I've read, seem to think that he was just jealous because he couldn't sing. So he didn't want,
He
like...
was a musical theater icon.
But he couldn't sing.
No, but he invented his whole new idiom. He helped invent, I don't know. It's Rex Harrison. He's, come on.
Yeah, but he's an asshole.
He's an asshole also, right. It's so weird. But then he was also saying that he didn't want, I think, Anthony Newley for the role, obviously, being a song and dance man. He wanted some television actor who's like a total hack. He's like, I want a real actor, this guy who's been on Ozzie and Harriet, whatever, I don't know.
Yeah, apparently when they wanted Sammy Davis Jr., he threatened to stop production, and so they tried to replace him with Christopher Plummer. But then Harrison was like, "Oh no, okay, I'll do it. I want to come back. I want to do the show." But at that point, like they already had this contract with Christopher Plummer, and so they had to pay his full salary.
Rex Harrison, I think a bad choice for the character, personally. Like, I get it. You see My Fair Lady, it's kind of a similar thing. I see how they're both linguists, and they're both professorial types who are misanthropic. But he's just so much the same that it's annoying. Like, Dolittle should be different. And this is something that, as could be expected, and I was looking forward to in the Robert Downey Jr. version, he is a lot more quirky and seems like a crazy man who talks to animals and doesn't know how to interact with people. Of course, I thought I wanted that, and it turns out I didn't.
Okay, I was watching this movie, and I was like, Robert Downey Jr. just seems to not care about this at all. He's barely doing facial expressions.
Yeah.
And his voice is so muted. I think it's because he's doing this accent and it's dubbed. But everything just sounds so muted in that movie. And the camera never rests on his face for that long in that movie. It's like he just can't hold a camera for some reason. Even though he's a great actor, in that movie, he's like not delivering.
Which, the fact that everything is terrible CGI and the other characters are nothings, doesn't help.
Yeah, and like it's just all action, just really pointless action,
boring action.
This long sequence of the kid trying to sneak his way onto their boat, and they make it an action sequence. Why do I care about this? And then that long scene of them pulling shit out of the dragon's ass, like
They pulled that shit out of that dragon's ass.
they just reached it. Oh my gosh.
No, that movie is terrible. We can talk about this but like, so, we're sort of placing all of these different, or really more the 60s Dolittle and the Downey one, and to a lesser degree the Eddie Murphy one, as very emblematic of these weird studio trends that are taking place at their respective time in history.
The problem is that this is, in both cases, for both of these movies, it's the studios thinking they figured out how to make a good movie without at all taking into account the quality of the material they're making. It's just whatever factors they think is a good combination of stuff that has nothing to do with the things that actually make a movie good. And like, as I was watching this, you hear so much about how old Hollywood turns to new Hollywood because, for a number of reasons, but one of them being that moviegoers are getting tired of old Hollywood movies and they want to see more interesting stuff. But as I was watching this, I'm like, what if it was just that there were bad movies being made? Like, what if Dr. Dolittle was as good as Mary Poppins or as good as The Sound of Music? Would we still have a new Hollywood?
Do you think, like, the Marvel thing has been able to sustain longer because, like, it does hook people in a more consistent and long-term way?
I think that the Marvel movies held up for a while as still being good and entertaining, and now it's just so annoying and exhausting. But it seems like these big family musicals, they went pretty quickly to being shit.
Yeah, I mean, well, so there's so many problems with musicals in general, and we've talked about them, and this movie has a lot of them. They don't understand what makes a singing moment interesting. And I'm not gonna say I'm gonna be able to perfectly explain it right now, but it's like things take so long when you're singing. It's just, this movie is incredibly long. Everybody in all of the test screenings, all of the extremely negative responses, all cited the extreme length, and that's due to the score. It's due to other things too, but the score is so tedious, and the songs go on longer than they need to. Almost none of them are advancing the story because there is no story. And it's all jumbled around, like, you know, the sort of, like, the difficulty of Mary Poppins, as we talked about, like, according to Stephen Sondheim, was cobbling together a narrative from these things. They settled on the Mr. Banks line, and that fit for a sort of emotional conclusion. But with this, they have a song, I can't remember what it was called, but it basically is like, let's explain what Dr. Dolittle is for the 50,000th time at the 11 o'clock number slot. Like, it's like the second to last song. What does Dr. Dolittle do? Why, he talks to animals, you know? It's crazy. Like, and it's like, yes, I know, he's done nothing but talk to animals.
It is crazy how long the songs take and how long the movie is and how boring it all is. And it's especially crazy when you press play, there is a really long period where the screen is black.
The overture.
And it's an overture. And then it's so boring. So you're watching a black screen, you're listening to an overture, it's boring as fuck.
Bad music.
Once it ends, what do we have? Another orchestral song playing during the credits where you're seeing cartoons of animals. So it's again, you have to sit through another whole orchestral piece.
Yeah.
It's like, you should have cut both of those. If you were like, this movie's too long and people think it's boring, why would you ever leave in those two parts?
Okay, so the studio again, this ties into this trend probably of like studios owning theaters. Maybe you can talk about this more, but like they wanted it to be long enough to necessitate an intermission because this was part of what they would do with these movies. And this is a thing still in musicals or theater in general. It's a controversy. Some people like shorter one-act pieces. I kind of like a two-act structure to some plays, but I understand that it is sort of padding and it is essentially something so that the house can sell refreshments.
I never realized that's why
Yeah.
they push for intermissions.
Right.
To sell things.
Yeah. But I like them. They're fun. Like, it's fun sometimes to have like a...
I like them. I get really anxious when I'm watching a play that doesn't have an intermission because it's like, when am I supposed to go pee?
Right.
I need that intermission.
But in Dr. Dolittle, you can get up to pee 50 times.
I want to. I don't want to be watching it. I wish I was peeing during the whole movie.
I couldn't check my phone enough during that movie. Like, there was no amount of looking at the same news stories that are boring that I could have done.
It was bad. It was so bad.
Yeah, it was really bad. They're all bad. Even the Eddie Murphy one is not good.
I thought it was charming. Rewatching it, I was like, I'm worried this movie isn't going to hold up. And maybe it's just because we watched two really bad Dr. Dolittles, and the Eddie Murphy one was the one we watched last. Maybe I was just so happy that it wasn't as bad as the other two.
It was not as bad.
But I thought it was fine. I thought it was good. I didn't think it was great.
No, I didn't think it was good. I thought that it had some interesting... There's some interesting characteristics to the 90s, the 90s-ness of that. It sort of reminded me of like an Adam Sandler thing in a lot of ways. Obviously, it's part of that 90s trend of like, well, we gotta modernize it, right? We gotta put it in the real world. They change up the deal. This trend of having a character in a movie like this is sort of magical movie, have a childhood where their gift is realized, but then they're sort of told to forget about it and never do it. That was like a thing that they were doing back then a lot. I feel like they had like kids who had to have a traumatic new realization, like when they became an adult, that they had a power. Which is a weird thing. Like, why would that make an audience swallow that they have a power? It's like, well, I don't believe that this person could talk to animals. It's like, no, sure, yeah, you saw he could do it when he was a kid, and his dad told him to stop talking to animals.
No,
it's like, I get it.
It is so much more interesting to watch a character struggle with their power.
Right, I know, yeah.
If you're just watching the character have the power, they receive the power and they get it easily, that's not as compelling.
Well, they didn't want him to have adventures. They wanted it to be in the real world. So, in that one.
Yeah.
So, they wanted it to be...
Because they wanted to make it modern. Also, because the books were super racist. And they wanted to move away from that colonialism thing of, like, white man traveling the world and, going around.
Yeah.
So...
Yeah.
They were like, let's get rid of that. Let's just have talking animals.
In 1967, the press took the film Dr. Dolittle to task for the racism of the books. In 1967, the press was causing a stir about the racism of the source material of this book.
So that must have been pretty overt.
Pretty bad stuff. Yeah, right.
I'm glad that the press
always nice. Always nice when you
when you hear
that,
about people actually doing the right thing at some point.
Like Birth of a Nation. There was that was protested heavily. People hated it. A lot of people. Not everybody. Not the president at the time. Anyways, moving on.
But I liked the Eddie Murphy one. I think it was actually my first exposure to Eddie Murphy as a child.
What was my first exposure to Eddie Murphy as a child? It would have been something like that. It would have been in that Nutty Professor, The Clumps kind of thing. I'm sure I wouldn't have seen his 80s material. It might have been something like Trading Spaces first, but yeah, I don't know. Eddie Murphy, an interesting choice for Dr. Dolittle. Not really like Rex Harrison.
Yeah, I thought it was great in it because, he
was.
doesn't seem to me... He's not normally an asshole guy, and yet he pulled off being an asshole to the animals.
Yeah, he was also really good at the normal guys parts of that movie. Where, just playing, the normal asshole, father who's got issues, who's got problems and frustrations and stuff. That was good.
Yeah, he's good. Can we talk for a sec about the Oscars year?
Yeah, please.
Let's first say, this movie, this is a podcast about New Hollywood, right? We haven't gotten to New Hollywood yet. We will soon.
After a couple more movies, right? We're gonna
do a couple new wave movies first, and then we'll go to New Hollywood. And the two movies that are known to have started off New Hollywood are The Graduate and Bonnie and Clyde.
Yes,
both of which were made in the same year as Dr. Dolittle.
Right.
So this is kind of a key transition point of Dr. Dolittle bombing and those two movies being really successful and studios realizing, this is maybe more what we should be doing.
There's a market for interestingness.
Yes.
Rather than formulaicness.
Yes. Let's briefly just touch on some of the other things that contributed to the switch. Basically, weekly cinema attendance dropped drastically around this time. So I'm just going to throw out some cinema attendance numbers for you. These are weekly cinema attendance in the US. In 1946, it was about 90 million. This is really high. That's...
Yeah, 90 million. There's 330 million or so people in America now.
Yeah, imagine how many there were then.
Right.
And crazy that 90 million of them went to the cinema every week. In 1950, that number drops to 60 million. In 1960, it's 40 million. Early 1970s, it drops to a low of 17 million. There's probably a new low because of the pandemic.
Yeah, right.
But 17 million at the time was the low. And so that's right around the time when New Hollywood is starting to come up. And then it raises back up to 20 million in 1980 and then back up to 27 million in 2000s. So this question of why did it start dropping? There's a lot of debate around it. One big thing implicated is TV. Is the advent of television. People were like, I can just stay home and watch television. This is great.
Right.
Also, post-war economic boom. A lot of Americans were more well-off than they were before, so they started taking up more expensive hobbies, apparently.
Yes.
They would do outdoor activities. There was also a mass movement to the suburbs in the 1950s, so there weren't a lot of movie theaters at the time in there because they were mainly in the cities at the time. There was baby boom, so young couples had kids and they couldn't take their babies into the cinema.
That's probably also why they had a lot of these musicals, as we were talking about, in this period. Because they had a lot of kids.
Because then the babies are getting...
Right, and then the babies get too old for them.
Right. And also changing social times. There was a younger crowd that wanted to see interesting stuff in movies and they didn't want to just see glossy, happy, clear moral pictures.
Like Dr. Dolittle, which is so moral.
It's true. The Dr. Dolittle moral...
Vegetarianism, I guess? It's reluctant vegetarianism.
It's true. And it's annoying that he's like, I care about the animals. And then he goes into the circus and has this push me, pull me thing work at the circus so that he can profit from it. And they're in this circus tent parading around bears on leashes. That's inhumane. And then Emma points out you're just such a hypocrite. And for some reason...
they just gloss past it.
Yeah, Newley's character's no, he's not.
No, he's not. He's not a hypocrite. Yeah.
It's you didn't give me a reason why he wasn't a hypocrite.
No.
They try to redeem him by having him rescue the seal.
Yeah.
Because it wants to go to its husband or whatever. But he should have been rescuing all the animals in the circus.
The push me pull you dance is great.
That was pretty charming. Push Me, Pull You, it's a two-headed llama.
Right.
And it's clearly just two guys in a costume. And the costume looks terrible. And I thought it was creepy. But dancing was kind of fun.
Was good.
Yeah.
That Push Me, Pull You did love to dance.
I didn't like the name.
The Push Me, Pull You?
It's stupid. Yeah.
It's stupid.
But back to the transition from old Hollywood to new Hollywood. There was the drop in cinema attendance, and this also corresponded with a drastic change in the structure of the studio system.
Yeah.
So previously there was this thing called vertically integrated studio system, where basically it was just that the studios had control of the production, the distribution, and the exhibition. And exhibition meaning that they could own the cinemas that played the movies. So like 5% of their total budget went to production facilities and star salaries, and then 94% was just tied up in cinema ownership.
That makes sense.
So it was just like a really big part of their system, and it was considered the most profitable end of the business. They didn't own all of the cinemas, but they owned a large number of them. And what they would do is they would only show their new movies in their own cinemas first. They'll only let them be released there, and then they'd be established as hits. And then if other cinemas wanted to also show the movies, they would do this thing called block booking, where they'd say, like, yeah, you can show this movie, but you also have to show all of our other shitty movies that nobody wants to see. And that was a way that they could ensure that even if they make some shitty movies, they didn't have to worry because they would still get played at cinemas. Anyways, Supreme Court was like, this is
I'm trying to think of, like, that's like Netflix somehow. Like, I don't know, sorry.
The Supreme Court was like, this is bullshit. You can't have a monopoly, so they changed the rules, and they were no longer allowed to own cinemas. So the dropping, cinema attendance...
That'd be so fun to the Supreme Court. They're like, we decree there shall be a new Hollywood. You no longer shall you be making Rex Harrison movies.
Why is your Supreme Court John Kennedy?
I don't know what Earl Warren sounds like.
Wow, I can't even imagine being the type of person who would pull off the top of your head who was on the Supreme Court at
I'm probably
any
wrong,
year.
though.
Well, I trust you. Yeah, so you got your drop in cinema attendance, you've got these new rules for the studios, and so they're losing a lot of profit, and they need a new system, and they're drastically downsizing, and they need to now work with more independent filmmakers. And then you've got this issue where they made these huge budget things that totally flopped.
Yeah. And this movie almost bankrupted the studio.
Yeah, it was a lot of money. Like I said, it was like triple their original budget and costing $18 million. I think they only earned like $9 million during its theatrical run. And you mentioned before their merchandise. They had like apparently one of the biggest merchandising campaigns.
They did a media blitz for the soundtrack.
Yeah, they did this. They did the soundtrack. They made puzzles. They made reprints of the original books, children's toys, school supplies, pet food.
This because kids like animals?
I guess so.
Kids like Rex Harrison? I do think it was the kind of movie that maybe some kids did like some kids had a response to, I guess.
I just can't imagine. I was thinking about how it was shot on location in England, at least in the opening scene.
Yeah, some of it.
And I mean, I know we talk about how like New Hollywood being shot on location really adds to it. In this case, for this movie, I feel like it made it a little depressing.
Well, yeah, I don't know if I said this already, but the movie felt like it was not in the right period. Like, it felt like it was supposed to be the mid-19th century, and it really felt more like the 1700s, in my opinion. It felt like everything was, like, more cobblestone-y, or you know?
Yeah, I mean, I guess because they,
it's like 1776 looking.
Right, they made it in this, like, really old-looking town. So
yeah.
I guess that was part of the problem. It was beautiful, but...
Yeah. Beautiful when old Anthony Newley is dancing around in the cobblestones, singing about how much he loves Dr. Dolittle. This character exists just to dick ride Dr. Dolittle. Like, all it is like somebody will be like, I don't think Dr. Dolittle's on the level. And he's like, no, sir, you just... Or no, he's Irish, right? He's like,
right.
No, sir. You just watch. Or whatever. I don't know. Does he do an Irish accent? Is he doing it?
I don't even know.
I don't remember.
I don't.
There's a weird Irish thing coming up again.
Yeah.
It was in Mary Poppins, and now this. It was a thing people were into in the 60s.
I guess so. I guess like
demographics.
Americans making British movies having to throw in some Irish.
Yeah, I honestly don't know how much more I have to say. This movie does not interest me. I mean, like, this is a movie that I could certainly see. Like, we need another high-profile flop like this to teach people a lesson. You know what I mean? Like everybody talked about how much it lost money and how terrible it was and all the problems, like, in the press and stuff at the time. And I bet that it really embarrassed Hollywood.
But, like, all the movies that are being made nowadays suck.
Yeah, but they don't embarrass them. People don't care anymore. I don't know.
Yeah, nobody cares.
Nobody cares about movies. Dr. Dolittle is always a harbinger of doom, and we just had one, so you should realize this.
Wait, I do want to talk about something. I want to talk about how much Emma Fairfax sucks balls.
Oh, please. The worst character ever. Regardless of gender.
She's so awful. And then they also just treat her so awful in the movie.
They treat her awful.
Not just the characters, but also the filmmakers.
They give her some songs.
Some shitty-ass songs.
Give her some moments.
The characters keep interrupting her. And she points this out. But the way that she points it out, she just comes off so wrong. Like, it's like she comes off as annoying and everything just for pointing out that they're interrupting her, and it's like that shouldn't be how the movie is. It's so bad. And then it seems like it cares about gender because she has this whole song called like At the Crossroads where it's all about like if I were a man, but the message is weird. She's like, if I were a man, I'd kill Rex Harrison.
Yeah.
And it's like, what?
This is a song where she literally says like, I'm at the crossroads of my life.
Yeah, but that came out of nowhere. Like,
I know.
They didn't give her any decision to make. She just saw the doctor and then suddenly is like, I'm at the crossroads. It's like, you don't have a decision to make. What are you talking about?
She has a sense that maybe there might be some great pink sea snails in her future if she goes a certain fork in the road.
I know, but it's like they didn't even try to like give her a reason to suddenly
they don't give anybody a reason to do anything.
Yeah.
Like you said before, there's a part where it's like, okay, that little interlude just happened. It was probably the push me pull. You think, what do we want to do now? We're going to see the great pink sea snail. The doctor's like, great, well, I'll go somewhere. And they're like, where are you going to go, doctor? And he's like, I don't know, don't I? We'll figure it out. And that's just, to see characters in the movie be like, I don't know, we'll just let it happen.
Yeah, it's so unexciting.
That makes you feel just sick before it happens.
Yeah.
And it's not going to be better than that.
Yeah.
And it isn't.
Yeah, you got to do the work and give your characters reasons to do the things that they're doing. And yeah, just like the Emma Fairfax thing, I just hate that song about like her talking about if I were a man, because it's like basically the lyrics are like saying not just that women are held back because she lived in a gender-oppressed society, but the lyrics seem to suggest that women actually were not as good as men. Like,
I'm
if I were a
held
man,
back
I'd be
by
better.
being shitty, by being terrible at life.
It was terrible. And then she went on the ship with them.
Yeah.
And at first you're like, why is the ship covered in flowers? There's this
Right.
weird unexplained thing where there's flowers all over. And then it's revealed Emma Fairfax is on board. Oh, of course it'll be covered in flowers because there's a woman up. Like, what the fuck?
Which that seems like a nod to something in the Downey one, because he has that ship of flowers that they reference with his wife later.
Maybe it's in the books.
Sorry,
I don't know. But
Sorry.
it was stupid. And then Dr. Dolittle is like, well, you'll only stay on here if I treat you like a man. And she's like, yeah, treat me like a man. So what do they make her do? They make her cook and clean.
Right.
Which are womanly things to do. It's so annoying. And then there's this scene where her dress, like, got lost in the shipwreck. And she's in her underwear. And Dr. Dolittle says it's the nicest thing he's seen her in so far.
I know.
It's so fucked up. And obviously the worst part of all of this is that she ends up with Dr. Dolittle, which I honestly did not see coming. I guess I should have expected it, but he's just so fucking old.
They have
and she's
Newley
so
in
much
there
younger.
seeming to be into it, and she
Yeah.
seems to be into him. And
Newley's a hot dude.
Yeah.
Newley's good looking, and he was expressing interest in her. Why the fuck would you have her end up with Dr. Dolittle?
You don't want Henry Higgins and Eliza Doolittle to wind up together in My Fair Lady.
Yeah.
You don't even want that hinted at.
Yeah.
It's nice that in My Fair Lady that they don't get together.
Yeah.
Even though they're going to hang out or whatever and teach lessons. But this just proves they really felt audiences desperately want Rex Harrison to consummate it with somebody. You know what I mean? They felt that audiences wanted Rex Harrison to find love at the end of of the rainbow.
I don't want that. I don't
No,
want
I know.
Harrison to have anything.
They were wrong. His characters he plays are unrepentant jerks who don't get along with people. Like, the joke should be an eternal, like, well, I'm still terrible in the end.
The way they had the romance happen is just he suddenly realizes that he likes her, and it's like, yeah, I guess
Yes,
that's
I do
half the
like
way.
her.
Like, that's the way you have to do with him, because you couldn't possibly show
Well,
him
yes,
gradually
I think I
warming
do
up.
like her.
That's awful.
Yes, she has a certain something, or what, you know, like, yeah.
Just makes me want to gag.
Yeah, it was horrific.
Yeah. Anyways, it was a shitty movie.
It's terrible.
No
Don't-
wonder audiences were like, fuck old Hollywood. This all sucks.
You should watch this movie at 4 times the speed.
You should just not watch it.
You
You should
if-
watch the Push Me, Pull Me dance scene.
You should watch that. I think an interesting experiment would be to watch the movie skipping through the songs.
Oh, that could be interesting.
Yeah.
I think it would highlight how disjointed the plot is.
Oh. Yeah, and you should also put on the Dead's Cornell 77 while you're watching that, because then that'll be a way more fulfilling musical experience, and you'll be able to talk to animals yourself.
That sounds like... I hope everybody who listens to this podcast does that.
Edits out those musical
Write
numbers
into us.
from...
Yeah, write into us. Tell us how that experience is, please.
Yes, mail us. Airmail, please.
Yes,
We'll
yes.
send you a P.O. box.
Yes. So this movie came out the same year as The Graduate and Bonnie and Clyde. Yeah, it was up for Best Picture. It was nominated for Best Picture.
They wined and dined them,
How fucked up is that?
the producers.
Yeah, but like, let's share who else was in that category. The other nominees were Guess Who's Coming to Dinner, In the Heat of the Night, The Graduate, and Bonnie and Clyde. And then fucking Dr. Dolittle. Come on, like those other...
Let's look up other
movies are so much
1967
better.
movies.
See if there's anything else that deserves...
Belle de Jour.
Oh, Belle de Jour.
Obviously, you know, it's not
I mean, it's not American.
These are foreign movies. You know, Playtime, Belle de Jour, Cool Hand Luke,
Yeah, Cool Hand Luke. That was an American one. That was great.
In Cold Blood,
It's just sickening that it ended up as Best Picture nominee.
Point Blank, The Dirty Dozen,
Yeah, it came out around the same time as The Jungle Book, and
The Producers,
obviously Jungle Book performed way better since
Disney.
Disney.
Yeah, a lot of movies came out. Fitzwilly?
Okay, maybe that one doesn't deserve a Best Picture, but that one is delightful.
Do you think How to Succeed in Business, which is a movie that I think is a much better musical than Dr. Dolittle? Do you think Fitzwilly is a better movie than Dr. Dolittle?
Yes, I
you think
do.
This is the only podcast in which the film Fitzwilly will ever be mentioned?
I think that might be the case. Everybody should watch Fitzwilly.
If you like Dick Van Dyke,
It's not the best movie in the world, but it's great.
it really charmed Elena.
I liked it.
It was a fun time.
Yeah, no, it's just crazy to me that this got a Best Picture nomination, obviously, because they, like you said, wined and dined the Academy members. Also, they did this thing where Best Picture nominee is the only one where any member of the Academy can vote.
Right.
So they tried to get every person that worked in the studio
All of
to
the animals
vote for it.
that have SAG cards.
Yeah, and it got a total of 9 Oscar nominations. It's
Yeah.
so messed up. Oh, yeah, so this movie, some source I read, names it as the lowest Rotten Tomato score movie to ever get a Best Picture nomination.
Well, hey, that makes sense.
Yeah, it was a 32% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah, no, that's high.
Yeah, it should be lower. It's a bad movie.
It's a hard film to watch.
Yeah.
All of these movies are hard films to watch, in my opinion. I did not find the Eddie Murphy one particularly enjoyable. It was like a drink of cool water compared to the other ones, which honestly, like, it's hard to say whether the Downey or the Harrison one is worse.
I don't know.
I don't know.
I think the Downey one was a little easier to watch. It
I don't know.
clipped along faster, and from my perspective, but I appreciate that at least the 1967 one was trying to do stuff.
At least that was from the 60s.
At least it was from this. At least it had Newley in it.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's true. I've never seen Anthony Newley in a movie before. I guess I saw this movie when I was a kid, but that was fun.
Yeah,
He should have had a career.
we had a rough week watching these movies, y'all. So yeah, we're tired of old Hollywood,
We're tired of old Hollywood.
and we're ready for something new.
we need a change.
We do. We need inspiration. You know?
Yes,
We need like
move me brightly.
yeah. So maybe we'll see that next week with a new wave film.
A little sideways step.
Yes.
All right, that's our show. Please remember to rate, review, and subscribe. Check us out on social media. Thank you to The Illuminator for our artwork. And remember, guys, we're a new podcast, so if you could leave a comment or just a like, that would really help us out. Thank you. Bye.